trigger happy and I give less than a fuck. Love me or hate me, I'ma show enough, rip shit up. It's Mr. Nothing, nice on a mic stand. Mic in the left and the zest in my right hand. I took a puff, had enough now, hold up. If that was Indo, niggas getting rolled up.
What's going on, folks? This is Astro. So I'm going to review the Funeral Disco project by JJ Demon. Now, being able to tell by this album cover, which you can see in the thumbnail when you click on this video, Funeral Disco looked to me like a particular kind of, well, like what it says in the title, like a disco kind of themed album and like an emo pitch that was going to have like a lot of bopping and kind of electro pop kind of club numbers, but there's really not much of that on this project. I'm just going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag early just by kind of saying that this is really kind of a bait and switch kind of album where it does not advertise and do correctly what it advertises on the package. So really this album is nothing like it says on the album cover, and that's a pretty colossal disappointment because I was under the impression with him collaborating with folks like Blood on the Dance Floor and Dot Dot Curve and those type people that he was going to have like a nice splash of emo rap and kind of like a pitch that would have probably been pretty unique at the time, especially back in 2010. I definitely think that it could have worked extremely well. He could have been like a more rap bar for bar version of what Davi Vanity kind of was and folks like that. I think it would have turned out pretty well, but unfortunately I'd pretty much have to damn near give this project 2 thumbs down. It's like I said, just a misadvertisement and kind of is like a clickbait kind of project, but it does at least have one hit on here. So there were 2 singles released from this project. One was called The Phone Song, Vibrating. Really excellent song. If there had been like another 4, 5, 6 songs like this, I definitely would have said that this would have been a hit project. But from what I gathered from this album, I really felt like this was probably like the lone song that people recognize JJ Demon for. I mean, the hook is brilliant. I mean, really, the beat is great. It really feels like a rave kind of going out right in the middle of like an erotic and just festive and real high tense dance. And I just feel like there's just so many good things to say about Vibrating, the Phone Song. And it's a shame that JJ Demon couldn't have captured that way more often, but he didn't even try. The only other song that really had a music video for it was I Killed Hip Hop. Now this is a decent beat. The problem that I have with JJ Demon is not so much the beats that he chooses, because if you're just a production head, he does have some good production on here. It's just the way that he carries, the way that he talks in these songs, that's a disappointment. And this particular song kind of segues into the main problem I had with this JJ Demon project. But for now, we'll kind of talk about the song. So this is a song that talks about like kind of a sarcastic rendition of talking about some of the problems in hip-hop, like thug posturing, glorifying gang violence, and dead homies and that type of stuff. Just kind of saying that I killed hip-hop because it was dead anyways with all the negative stuff that they were talking about. But this song would have worked. The reason why I didn't like this song is because it's just one lengthy verse, and he puts the hook at the tail end of the song, when really he should have just made it a song and had like 3 verses and kind of talked about the stuff he was talking about. But it felt way too preachy and way too much of like kind of like a overtly kind of glorified message as far as that's kind of concerned. It just takes me right back to the way like Public Enemy and some of those rappers were kind of talking back in the late 80s, and I just didn't appreciate the approach behind it. I really didn't. It was just not something enjoyable, and that's kind of the thing about this project as a whole, is it's very much a preachy and kind of I've got something to say, and kind of more of like kind of like Royce the 5'9" with like the allegory, how he kind of had like a message to get across and he doesn't care how boring he sounds when he does it. And that's kind of the attitude of this project, where, like I said, the phone song is the main selling point from this album, but everything completely goes in an about face and a 180 because nothing else has to do with that one vivacious and frivolous kind of song. So that's what you get with I Killed Hip Hop. It's a great song. I mean, it would be a great song. I can't completely say it's a great song. It would be if it would have been in a standard song format. Nice kind of haunting and kind of a little bit moody beat on there, but it came off as just too much of more of a message, like, hey, I've got something to say, I'm not liking this, but he should have made it a song. But yeah, like JJ Demon is very preachy in the way he talks. I feel like his influence seemed more like someone like KRS-One and like Biz Markie and Public Enemy and those type folks. I mean, he really talks like someone ripped right out of 1991 or 1992. He really never made it past the boom-bap type stuff where he has more of stuff to say and kind of like a preachy and kind of like almost like college professor way of talking to you, where he's kind of got his ruler in his hand pointed at the chalkboard type stuff. And it gets old pretty fast. I just get tired of the attitude that JJ Demon has on this project, is because it's a misadvertisement. If this album had been called like Hip Hop Sucks, This Is the Reason Why, I would have preferred it to more Funeral Disco, which kind of has a lying sense of saying that this is a fun and kind of jubilant project, when in fact all it is just like a kind of unpalatable meal of food for thought that's not really that interesting or tasteful. And that's kind of the project behind it, is just trying to say, I appreciate I Killed Hip Hop, but just trying to cram it down people's throats by having like this overtly preachy verse. I mean, it's good, but it should have been in a song. Should have had the hook more. And that's just kind of the characteristics of this whole album. There is no song like the phone song. If you are here for vibrating the phone song, understand it's pretty simple. I mean, I may be late because I reviewed this 12 years later, but the whole concept, there is really nothing as fun, as vivacious, as just jubilant, and as overall kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of frivolous as that song. There's nothing even close. Nothing. I mean, Bubblegum at least tries to be like a club bop, and it has like a nice beat on there, but it's actually JJ Demon defending Bubblegum pop songs, saying, hey, at least they're making hits and making money. Get like them, as opposed to your thug posturing, which I don't appreciate. And Yellow Balloon is just another song like, here's your yellow balloon, because these are sad moments. And I mean, it's just too much. I mean, I appreciate JJ Demon having stuff to say, but the concept behind it is he should have blended it in with more moments that would have been interesting, because it's like he got 2 out of 3 of the concepts that he needed. Good production, good palette of things to talk about, but just bad personality. That's the third kind of gesture where you could say 2 out of 3 would be good. I'm not going to give this album a good score, but the concept with it is just not a very fun concept to listen to, because the way he talks, he never really talks like, this is what I'm doing. He kind of talks from like that Too Short and KRS-One and Public Enemy angle, where he's telling stories. Even Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park kind of does this, where you're not talking with JJ Demon as much as someone that he's making a caricature of. So it's not, when he says I'm doing this, he's actually talking from an angle that a person who's doing this, but I'm just talking from it from first person. So it's not really JJ Demon going through these experiences as much as it is some figurative person that he's using to kind of say some as a picture he's trying to paint. And it gets old. I mean, really, I would have taken just another club song like Vibrating, as opposed to some song where he's trying to convey a message that didn't really make much of a difference in the first place. And that's just kind of the concept. Eminem has done it better, and he has no problem with saying like, this is what I've done, blah blah blah. Songs like he did, like White Trash Party around 2010 and Not Afraid, was better than any song on this project. I mean, I like probably the phone song Vibrating more than Not Afraid, but other than that, I would say Not Afraid, which is pretty much a good but not great Eminem song. That's better than any song on this project. Just to kind of say, Eminem, one of his offhanded songs, completely murked every kind of preachy and kind of food for thought song that JJ Demon attempted. And it's that kind of repertoire that's just like, I appreciate JJ Demon having a good ear for beats, but there's really just nothing noteworthy of any concept, just because I felt like he tried way too hard to promote some sort of message to this project and bring back the hip hop of 1987 and 1991. And he just did a bad job with it. I mean, he should have, like every musician knows that if you're going to have this kind of food for thought content, you have to have a selling point where people are not ripped into like the classroom kind of setting and mindset that kind of approach has. And I feel like naming your album Funeral Disco was misleading, to say the least, and it's just nothing interesting that really has any sort of tangibility. There's nothing. It's basically like putting frosting on like a hot dog and saying that it's going to be sweet, and it's really not. I mean, you can't sit there and do that and say that this is the sort of stuff that's a selling point. I was expecting something like Blood on the Dance Floor, something like Broken Side, something like The Millionaires, but it is nowhere near that at all. This is just like an electro pop version of a Public Enemy album, thinking, okay, if you like club sounding hits just with a message to it, that might be up your alley, but it's really a pill to listen to in so many circumstances. I'm going to give this album a 1.5 out of 10. I mean, I really would like to give it a higher score. I probably would have even given it like a 4 out of 10 if I would have liked I Killed Hip Hop. But that's truly the only song out of 10 that I enjoyed. There's really only 8 songs on here, and 2 of which is just an extended mix of Phone Song and then Bubblegum. But I mean, there needed to be something else, because I really feel like Phone Song Vibrating is basically makes JJ Demon a one-hit wonder. He should have really seriously looked into having another high octane song as good as that one, because it's just a complete missed opportunity. One of the bigger missed opportunities I've seen in at least underground rap music in a long time. That just really happens to kind of be the remark. Like I said, I would have liked I Killed Hip Hop if it would have been in a standard song format, but oh well, it wasn't. So 1.5 out of 10. The social score I will give like a 3.5 out of 10, just because Phone Song Vibrating was good and it made a lot of noise. But I think people probably just got bored quickly and shrugged, just like, oh well. But that's kind of the concept. It was at least a hit song, gave JJ Demon some buzz, but unfortunately that's the only real selling point. And it's hard to even recommend purchasing this album with it being so short-handed. That's really the thing. I just have not seen a complete short-handed project like this in a very long time, and it's just a colossal disappointment. Now, I've talked with Jackal Goldkick, and he has kind of said and stuff that JJ Demon went in a more boom-bap style later on, that he kind of abandoned like the pseudo-emo pitch that he had on this project and completely went to boom-bap. And he's put out albums. He kind of took a break. He did drop a mixtape, which I want to review that also, because I've at least heard pieces of that and it seems fun. But I don't know, if it's just going to be more in that boom-bap kind of preachy style, I may not be interested. But I'm at least going to try the Live Backwards, which is his free mixtape that he dropped in 2011, but we'll see about some of that stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, really the only song worth playing on this album is just Phone Song Vibrating.